Hey, welcome back. It's me, Lou, and for today's drawing, I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to kind of stray away from the superhero stuff. So we're going to focus a little bit on things that might be a little bit more mechanical and a little bit on the monster side. And for that, we're going to draw this guy. This is a Transformers Sharkticon. Now, this little dude, he lives on the planet, I believe, Quintessa, and he swims around in this, I don't know, pool of robot water or whatever it is, and these other robots, known as the Quintessons, they feed them other robots. That's the simplest way I could word it. So this guy is like part shark, part piranha. I don't know. He kind of looks like a weird looking, almost like a toad kind of deal. He has these big eyes and these sharp teeth. He's kind of like at least with this toy, it's kind of a bulbous, egg-shaped kind of figure. And I thought it'd be fun to draw because it's not a superhero, so I'm not drawing like, normal human anatomy. It's mechanical based, so it's going to have a little bit sharper edges. And he's just neat to look at. He's these big-ass teeth and this bulbous looking eyes and a fin on the top of his back. So we're going to draw this Sharkticon fella. Okay, let's figure out with his body. So when I first was exposed to the Sharkticon character, it's probably in the old 80s Transformers animated movie. But I think I might have had the toy before I actually saw the cartoon, I think. I just remember the toy looking really unique because at the time a lot of Transformers just kind of turned into like cars or jets or some sort of like household appliance or a gun or something, and this guy was cool because he turned into like a weird robot looking monster dinosaur kind of deal, but he was so different from all the other Transformers I had at the time. I'm gonna take a few liberties here and change like the shape of the eyes on the toy. They're completely round. I want to kind of give mine a little bit of character, so I'm gonna kind of maybe give him a little bit of a furrowed brow or something. Yeah, so they're just really cool, neat looking characters. I kind of like the fact that it's essentially like a weird hybrid between a shark and a piranha. And I think as a kid, those are kind of like, at least for me, some of the weird animals that you become fascinated with. I mean, kids love dinosaurs. The idea of piranhas intrigues me. That you're always taught about these flesh-eating piranha monsters or fish. And the idea that this guy was a robot piranha kind of looking dude just fascinated me. So I'm not drawing this one for one in terms of what it's supposed to look like. Mine might look a little bit different. So his eyes a little bit bigger. There's this panel up here, but I don't want that to be mistaken. The toy has it, but I don't want it to be mistaken for a nose, so I'm going to shorten it a little. And then let's figure out where his mouth's going to be. So this guy has like giant fangs, which is really gnarly. I'm gonna end up faking some of this also, just so I can fit this all on the page. So one of my I'm really big into collecting toys and action figures, and one of the toys that I'm really big on collecting is Transformer toys. I still remember the first time I bought a Transformer. I was probably in the 3rd grade, and I remember seeing a commercial for it one day after school. And at the time, the big robot toys, I think, were maybe like Voltron and GoBots. And GoBots were kind of like Transformers in the sense that they're robots who could transform into other things. Like they could convert into like jets, space shuttles, motorcycles. And then I remember the first time I saw a commercial for a Transformer toy blew my mind because they looked so much different than the GoBots. They were larger. They looked more detailed. GoBots were like the size of like a Hot Wheels or Matchbox car. But Transformers, they were just like larger in size. And I'm like, whoa, those look cool. And then the first time I saw one, I remember it was like a Saturday morning at a Toys R Us. And I think I was with my mom. And I was probably like 8 or 7. And I remember walking into the store, and I think it was the first thing as soon as you got into the store in the front store display. And I think they were new toys, and I think the store was trying to push them. What better place than as soon as you walk in. And I remember they just had piles and piles of all these cool Transformer figures. And then I gravitated towards the jet. And at the time there were 3 different colored jets. There was a blue one, which is Thundercracker, a black one, which is Skywarp, and then there was a silver one, which was Starscream. And then I gravitated towards Starscream, and then that's the one I purchased. And then that kind of started my whole obsession with Transformers ever since then. And they were popular at school. Kids would bring them. We'd play with them during lunchtime and recess. Right, I'm not sure if I want to go with that design choice and change the shape of the eyes. I might just actually keep his eyes round like how they're supposed to be. It's not looking right. Initially, I was thinking if I changed the shape of the eyes, I'd give it a little bit more character and expression, but I think it actually loses its identity. So I'm just going to go back and just give this guy circle eyes. I'm going to have to change up some things a little just to make this work. It's not looking right. Something's off about this guy. I think it's... Alright, I think I messed up somewhere. Let's just keep on going. I figure whatever I mess up on, I can always correct later. And he has these weird, like, I don't know what these are. He has these weird, like, horns or spikes at the bottom of his chin. And there's this, I don't know what this is, like a panel or a grate. Alright, so I kind of want to make this part of his face, I want to make his face a little bit fatter, so let's bring this out. Let's bring this out and pull it back in. And likewise here, let's do the same. No, that might not work either. Okay. Yeah, this guy has some interesting geometry. There's some weird things going on in terms of the way his body's laid out and stuff in these shapes. I'm just gonna Alright, so over here, I think I'm just going to fake it and just add it. He does have an arm here, but I'm just going to fake the arm socket and kind of place it where I think it should go. And for his jaw here, let's fake that also. Let's pretend that there's like a hinge here. Wait, I'm losing this. Looks like he has some fins here. On the toy, he only has one fin, but I kind of want to add a row of them going down his back. And then a big one on top. Yeah, see, this is called poor planning. I should have really figured out how I was going to lay out his body. Always plan out your drawings, kids. Alright, so I now want a fin here. And then let's say there's another one here, slightly bigger, running down his back. And then there's the mother of all fins back here. Let's make it kind of crooked. Alright, so right now I'm kind of regretting that I kind of went in this really raw and not laying out my shapes properly, but I don't know, I guess I'll just deal with it. And let's get his arms in. They're like... It looks like this guy has 4 fingers on each arm. So we'll add 4 fingers on each arm. All right, let's say this is his forearm here, and this is his hand coming at you. That's kind of like his opposing thumb, and since he only has 3 fingers on the inside, there's going to be his fingers. I kind of wish I could do more with his jaw, but I'm looking at the toy, and the toy does some weird things. Because since this guy transforms into a robot, the geometry is going to look a little weird, so I'm just going to have to just go with it. Yeah, this is... Alright, Sharkticon. Let's see how you're coming along. Alright, let's get his other hand drawn in. Just like the other hand, it's only going to have 4 fingers total. Alright, there's the Sharkticon. Now the rest of his body is gonna be kind of tricky because he has these hind legs back here, and with the way I position this guy, I'm not sure how much I'm gonna be able to fit in. So I'm just gonna try my best right now, just to kind of not necessarily fake it, but this is gonna be his hip, and then we'll say that his leg will come out this way. And maybe his knee, because I don't want to get too busy around here, because then you're gonna lose the hand. So let's just say that his leg's gonna be here, and then this is gonna be maybe his knee joint. And then maybe we get part of his foot back here. Oh, that looks weird. It's too long. Alright, so I'm kind of like painted myself into a corner here because his leg's going to give me problems. Maybe I could try to fake his leg a little bit better. Alright, so I don't know, that's his foot. Is that working? Alright, that's kind of working a little bit. So what I'm going to do here is after I'm done doing some of this, I'm going to come back. I'm going to try to finish, I think, all of this that's coming in the foreground. And then I'll come back later after I flesh all this out. And then I'll come back and kind of fake the rest of his leg. And then we'll pretend there's a foot here. So this is kind of working, if you can kind of see it, right? I don't know, it doesn't look right, but it doesn't look that wrong. So, and then he has a tail too that comes around. You know, his tail, he has like it's like a mace. It's like a ball with spikes on it. And then, I don't know, we can figure that out later too. I just want to kind of fake this a little and just try to make it up as I go along. Alright, so here we go. We have the Sharkticon. Alright, let's go inside and start hammering out some of these details. I'm thinking I might want to trace the details with a finer Sharpie. And I'll try to, I don't know, yeah, let's just do that. So, since this guy is a robot, and he's not composed of fleshy bits, you want to make him look a little bit more, you know, technical. So that's going to involve like drawing maybe like rivets or like panels, maybe divide part of his limbs with segments. And I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. Like, I'm trying to figure out, all right, these are his fingers, these are his digits, this is where the joints are, this is where his knuckles might be. And I'm just going to draw on these really vague, generic-looking shapes. And afterwards, I'll just come back in and add all the necessary details. So this isn't going to be the most sophisticated-looking drawing. You know, there's parts of this is just going to look very, I don't know, amateurish, but I think once I start pulling all the shapes together, it'll start making more sense. And hopefully you, the viewer, can see what I'm trying to achieve here. And when you see it, you'll go, oh yeah, I could kind of make heads or tails of what this body part is or what's going on. Drawings don't always have to look perfect, and they don't always have to make sense. And I think when you approach it with that kind of attitude, what you produce, there's a little bit of unpredictability to it, and it makes the composition a little bit more engaging. Because if you take everything at face value, and if, oh, this looks perfect, this is that, and whatever, not that the drawing becomes boring, but it becomes kind of predictable. And I think it's important to have flaws in a drawing. It gives it character. Like these angles here, they don't curve as nice as I'd like them to, but I don't mind right now. The goal right now is just to get the major shapes drawn in, and just to give you an idea of where everything's going to be placed. Give this guy some form. No, I don't want to mess up the circle. Don't mess up the circle. Don't mess up the circle. There we go. And over here, it seems like every time I'm messing around with his eyes, I'm losing that brow I drew earlier, and it's always peaking up higher and higher. So I got to correct that here. And kind of try to make it work. Oh man, I think this is where it's getting kind of weird. All right. Yeah, so what I inked in here isn't matching my pencil lines, and that's one of the weird ways. I mean, when you work or a little bit more organically, like I do, and just kind of make the drawing up as you go along, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, like I always do. But it's like I said before. For me, it's like once I make a certain mistake, I just gotta commit to it, and then it becomes a challenge of like how am I gonna make this work. So for me, there's always gonna be a lot of trial and error when I draw. If my drawings came out perfect the first time I did them, I don't think I'd be as engaged in what I'm creating. Yeah, so I'm kind of liking this so far. It's coming out a little bit more of what I kind of envisioned in my head. Oh, dude, I kind of messed up. All right. Yeah, like this here, I wanted this line here to be parallel with this. But this one has a much more steeper incline than this one. But like I said, just, I make that mistake, I just gotta commit to it and just work with it. Alright, let's get his fins drawn in. And then there's this big fin towards the back. kind of don't feel comfortable with the shape I made here. I'm kind of regretting that it went in so cold. I should have really planned it out better. Alright, just that. Alright, so his body's coming along. Okay, alright. Right now I'm just looking at this hand and trying to figure out how to make sure I don't deviate and change the designs of the fingers here. I want to maintain some level of consistency here. Whoops, I went kind of overdrew there. Now if I gave myself more time, I'm sure I could make a more refined drawing, but I just like the process of this, where everything feels a little bit more natural and organic, and I kind of like making things up as I go along. I mean, for me, the biggest thing is if I made a mistake right now, it'd suck because then I'd have to start all over. So you try not to make a mistake. You just... Alright, so how we're looking? This looking alright? Okay, Mr. Sharkticon. The Sharkticon's such a cool looking character. It's like I said, whereas other Transformers turn into like jets and cool futuristic looking cars and all other things, this guy's just cool because he just transforms into this giant looking robot shark slash piranha kind of dude. And I don't know what's not to like about that. Mr. Sharkticon. Now he's a Sharkticon, so he's kind of like a shark, so you have to make sure that you give him these really sharp-ass teeth. Nice sharp incisors. So I'm going to add these things next, these little kind of horns. I think it'd be a cool job to be a toy designer, in all honesty. You know, if someone told me, "Hey, dude, you want to like design toys and action figures?" I'd be all over that. I'd love that. I mean, there's so much imagination that goes on in designing something like this as a toy. But I also wondered, like, you know, since it's a transformer and it's a robot kind of looking deal, You know, how much are you restricted in terms of, like, you know, the engineering of the toy? Like, I think, do you have to be mindful of, like, how certain things are going to function, and, you know, like, where's there going to be joints? Does this move? Does that move? Alright, let's figure out his jaw. We'll say there's a joint here maybe, and this is where it attaches to his jaw, right there. And then we'll fake the body, and we'll just say that it's segmented up here, where his belly is. I kind of want to work on the tail too. So let's fake the like lint on my hand. All right, let's say that his tail's like a mace, so there's a ball at the end of it. So we'll try to draw a somewhat decent circle, and we'll figure out where the tail is. And then let's figure out the spikes. So we'll say there's a spike right here on the mace. There'll be a spike here. There'll be a spike. This kind of reminds me of a drawing. Okay, so a few years ago there was they have Transformer conventions, and this one was called TFCon. It wasn't a licensed convention, but so at this convention there's all these Transformer dealers. People sell all sorts of other robots, but Transformers is the big deal. So the convention is a chance to meet other Transformer fans and buy Transformer toys, and then you got to sit in on panels and listen to like Transformer stuff. Like maybe they might have like the writers from the comic books or the cartoons, and then you can meet like the artists of like the box art, or you know, the cartoons and the comic books. And they actually had a drawing contest, and I actually won the 2D category. And the character I drew was a character named Death's Head, who originally appeared in the United Kingdom version of the Transformer comics. And he had a mace weapon with a ball and spikes at the end of it. And I think I have that figure right here. Let me go grab it. So this is Death's Head. He's like a bounty hunter, and I think he hunts down Transformers, if I remember correctly. So I drew this guy at for the contest, and I won. But I remember the one thing that this mace here just reminded me of drawing this weapon here. So this is Death's Head. Say hello, Death's Head. Hello. Okay. So back to this. All right. So I have the spikes kind of laid out on his tail, and then I'll figure out his tail is just gonna be simple. Let's just draw segments in it later. All right, let's draw the details. I'm gonna draw the spikes real quick. So like I said before, when I draw, I don't want to focus on anything too long. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. So it just has to be done, and it has to look somewhat right. Like, these spikes are going to be off, but I think the person, whoever is going to be looking at this will get the idea, like, oh, look, there's a ball with spikes on it. And they would be right, because there's a ball with spikes on it. I'm really worried about the legs. To be honest, the legs are like scaring me right now. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do for those legs. At least get his tail in. Alright, I think I'm gonna work on this leg. Because I needed to figure out one leg first. And if I like the design of it, I'll move on to the other one. And this leg here, there's too much crap going on around here. So this one's gonna be a little bit harder to draw. So if I could draw this leg first, I'll be happy. So I think I'm gonna start with the big toe. The big toe, alright, there's a line there. Let's draw this. Go up. Up. All right, now I'm getting now I'm getting scared. Okay, right, we'll draw this. All right, so there's one toe. Let's figure out the foot. All right, let's give it a segment. Maybe it's like segmented to something. And then there's gonna be like some sort of shaft or port it plugs into. And then his other toes. I don't want to mess this up. We'll say this other toe is a little bit smaller. Oh, dude, I think I messed up. Yeah, it's good enough. It's not perfect, but it's done. And then on the other side, we could kind of fake it, like, oh, okay, here is this toe. It's gonna look kind of like that other one. And then we'll just say his foot's, I don't know, like this. Maybe there's some sort of deal here. And then maybe it goes up. Maybe there's like his ankle right here. Yeah, okay, so this is his foot, which I kind of faked. It's probably not going to make any sense, but at this point, I don't care. And we'll try to fake a foot here. I'm wondering if I should just try to like draw this first. All right, draw this next. Come down. Go here. Go down. Oh God, I'm getting worried. I made a mess this drawing up already. Alright, let's just kind of ignore what's going on here. That's going to really throw me off. And let's kind of recreate what we did over here, but I don't know, just make sure I draw it right. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. There's this one artist, I can't remember his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. I want to say he's a Korean artist. And he amazes everybody because he just works raw altogether. He'll just come in, he won't do an underdrawing or anything, and he'll work on these giant like mural-sized canvases. He'll just come in with a pen and he'll just start drawing, and it's amazing what he produces. It's like that's like a crazy like God-given talent that you could just go in there and just draw as raw and without any layout. I'm guessing he's one of those kind of people that kind of just sees it in his head and then when he draws, he can just easily translate it to paper without thinking. Whereas I'm the opposite. I need to think about everything I'm drawing. All right, that's good enough. Yay. All right, it's not bad. Not bad. I can live with this. This guy's happening. All right, let's. Okay. Do I want to give him an outline yet? Yeah, let's give him an outline real quick. I'll give him an outline, then after that I'll start fleshing out the details. Alright, so I want to build... So, this hand, I want it to have a little bit more pop than the rest of the... Since it's in the foreground, so I'm just going to come in and give it a nice fat contour line. To be honest, I think of all the drawings I've done for this YouTube channel so far, this this might be my favorite. Because it's so different looking than anything else I've drawn. You know, I'm really stoked that I got to actually fit the entire character on the page. I'm happy that it's not just a portrait like, oh, here's Batman's face up close. You know, for this, it's like, wow, I actually got to draw a Transformer. And honestly, I haven't drawn like a full-fledged Transformer in so long. So for me to do this, and for it's shaping out nice. That's what I want to say. It's exceeding my expectations of what I thought I was going to produce. I originally thought I was just going to do like a really quick drawing because I felt kind of lazy this afternoon, but I knew I wanted to get another video up on YouTube. And I'm like, oh, let's draw a Sharkticon. It's round. It looks kind of crazy. It has big teeth, and I could just, you know, ride off of that and just fake a drawing, and then. But it's coming out. It's actually coming out a lot nicer than I thought it was going to be. So I'm kind of happy with that. I don't know. I guess you could say this was a pleasant surprise. And let's transition this line a little. Like that. So this is coming at me. So I'm going to come in, and I'm not going to give everything that thick of a line. I'm just going to just trace it with this. The hardest thing for me, like, so this YouTube channel is very new. I barely have any subscribers. But the one thing I told myself when I was doing this is, like, I enjoy drawing, but I don't get to do it enough in my free time, in my life as I'd like. And I figured if I did the YouTube channel, the minute I turn this into kind of work, it kind of forces me to draw. So I like that. I like the fact that this feels almost kind of like work. So I'm kind of like forced to like just create and just come up with something. But I told myself at the same time, if I work like this and I put out, my goal is to put out a drawing at least every day. And there's some days I'll put out two, but I told myself, okay, I want to put out a drawing every day. But the thing is, I can't be complacent. I told myself I always had to like challenge myself with each drawing. So each drawing has to be somewhat more difficult than the last. Now that's up to debate. That's always gonna be up to debate, and then that's very subjective. So for me, it's like each drawing has to be more of a challenge than the last one I drew. Whether or not the illustration's actually gonna look better is a different question altogether. But for me, this one, it's nice because I'm kind of working outside of my comfort level since I'm drawing a non-superhero kind of thing, because superheroes are kind of like my bread and butter. So it's like my go-to. I love drawing superheroes because it comes pretty easy to me. And something like this is like, it feels really weird. I'm not used thinking in these kind of like proportions and shapes. Because drawing superheroes, I mean, if you understand how to draw the human body, even in like comic books, you know, it's a little bit. It's not necessarily like real anatomy, so it's kind of like exaggerated and faked, and you could like get away with drawing like an oval for a head and, you know, a barrel for like a torso and stuff like that. But this dude's like a very unique shape, and then trying to figure out the proportions, the dimensions, how to make it believable in terms of like its mass. So right now I'm pretty happy with the basic form of it. It looks a lot nicer than what I had in my head. And what I had in my head was just scribbles because I couldn't really see this. And this didn't really take form until I started just, I don't know, laying the shapes out and trying to tell myself I need to commit to this part and make this thing work and whatever. I might come back later and make these points a little bit sharper, but for now I just want to give this guy a nice outline. I like thick contour lines in black and white artwork, especially if it's like something like this, because for some reason this reminds me of like coloring book art. And in coloring book art, you always have like the fat lines around the figures, and you know, I think it's to help kids stay within the lines as they color. Sharkticon. Woo, look at you. Whoops. This guy is so fun to draw. Oh man, I'm so worried about him. This is easily one of my favorite drawings I've done so far this year. It looks like what it's supposed to look like. I was kind of worried this was gonna look like some sort of weird like abstract version of the Sharkticon, and then I just chalk it up to like creative license and say, oh yeah, I want it to look like this, but it looks like what I want it to look like, and I am very happy with that. Now I'm going to figure out where I'm going to put some, make those glow, darken on his mouth. Okay, so let's start adding some details. Alright, so I'm going to add some segments here on his tail. Let's add some detail to these fins. Right now I'm in my head, I'm also figuring out my black to white ratio in terms of contrast. Like when I'm working in black and white, I like to balance out my composition and figure out how much negative space I want versus how much positive space. So in my head right now, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, at some point in time, I want to come back here, make this part black, make this part white, add a shadow here, add some value here. So that's what I'm kind of doing in my head right now. Excuse me. My throat's a little dry. What do I want to do here? There's this one dude on Instagram. I can't remember. I follow him on Instagram, but I can't remember his name precisely. He draws a lot of cool robots and mechs. I think his name's like Mecha Soul or something along those lines. And every time I see his work, it always kind of amazes me. He draws a lot of robot stuff like Gundam. And he just draws... They're so intricately detailed. He'll draw like every valve and hose and rivet and joint in the robot. It's like one of those things you look at it and you know the guy's not a poser when it comes to stuff like robots and stuff, because his attention to detail, it's like legit. It's like you could tell he really studies his robot design and his mech design. When I was younger, I was anyway, probably between the ages of like 10 and 12. I was really into some of the anime that came out in America, like Voltron and Robotech. And I think this also coincided with like the Transformer interest also. And I loved drawing Voltron. I loved drawing the robots and mechs from Robotech. Like robot design, I think is such a cool thing. Not like realistic robots, but I'm more along lines of like science fiction and like anime kind of robots. There's a real art to like how you design them and how you detail them. I don't want to embellish this with too much stuff that's not supposed to be there. So I kind of want to keep my details I don't want to go overboard, but it's really easy to go overboard just because it becomes fun sometimes drawing every single rivet, every single segment, every panel line. Yeah, so this guy's really fun to draw. I wasn't expecting to have this much fun drawing him. I mean, there were certain points where I was really nervous, where I'm like, oh god, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, that happens a lot with my drawings, but this one's an exception though. I mean, I'm not out of the woods yet. I still have to like finish rendering them, but I think the really hard parts are kind of out of the way. So at this point, I can just kind of have fun with the details. But yeah, there was a point where I was just nervous. I'm like, I'm not sure if I could pull this off. I don't know what I'm doing. But it's like I said, it goes back to this challenging myself and wanting to produce something that looks interesting. I think I'd be doing myself a disservice, and especially someone watching it, if I just kind of just fell upon drawing the same things over and over again. And that's why I kind of feel bad when I'm always just producing things like a portrait drawing, because it's like it's not that hard for me to draw portraits and stuff. And I kind of have certain poses I always fall back on. But for something like this, it's nice to challenge myself and just produce something that, in the end, it's just a surprise for me as it is for you, because I don't really know what I'm doing sometimes. As I'm drawing the Sharkticon, I'm kind of reminded of this funny thing. It's kind of mean though, so I don't know if I should share it, but I'll share it anyways. So I was at a party once, and there was this family. I knew this one dude, and I think his family was there. And their body shapes, not that I'm trying to body shame anyone, but all of them were very, they're like stockier, round people. And I was joking around saying it's like the whole family, they're all shaped like Sharkticons. And I don't mean the Sharkticons when they're like as the shark in the shark mode. I'm talking about when they're like in the robot mode and they look like giant eggs with like little feet and stuff. It's like the whole family, they were like shaped like Sharkticons, and it made me laugh. It's a mean thing to say, but I don't know. If you found it funny, that's cool. If you happen to be an egg-shaped Sharkticon-looking person, I apologize. There's his eyes. Mr. Sharkticon. It looks like the Sharkticon dude has like this thing here. There's that. It looks like it almost looks like nostrils, but they're not. I don't know, maybe they are. And he has some lines that run across. Now, with a drawing like this, I also have to remember, like, know when to pull back. There's a certain point where it's like you don't want to keep on adding too much detail, because then you're going to start overkilling it, and some stuff might get lost in translation. Ugh. Alright, let's fill in his mouth. And be careful not to mess up the teeth. Wait, I actually want to go back here. I want to add some things to the eyes. I want to kind of make it look like his eyes are kind of like in these socket kind of deals. So I'm just going to draw a slight ring around it. And the toy actually looks like there's these kind of like panels underneath his eyes. They went underneath. They had a couple of those. Let's add some segments along his arms. Okay, we're entering that scary territory of over an hour. Every video, I know I sound like a broken record. Every video, I keep on telling myself, I'm going to do this under an hour. I'm going to do this under an hour. Next thing you know, these videos are, at some point, it's going to happen. They're going to approach 2 hours, and then they're going to go over 2 hours, and then there'll be some days where I'm just devoting an entire day to just doing a video. But like I said, if you're this far into this video right now and you're enjoying what you're watching, you know, thank you. You know, there's only like 2 people I know of that watch that watch my channel, you know, whenever I put up new videos. So, you know, those 2 or 3 people, it's like, thank you for watching. The next time we get together, I'll buy you guys dinner. I kind of regret that I started doing this as late as I did, because as I'm recording this video, I think it's March 9th, 2021, and then in a few days it'll be 1 year since I've had to work from home because of the pandemic and the lockdown and all that. And I kind of regret I didn't take up this interest in drawing and doing YouTube videos until just now. But I mean, it took me a while. I mean, I don't know. I think I was just at a point in my life where I'm like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. You know, the world's not getting back to normal anytime soon. I'm still at home. Still working from home. I haven't seen my friends in forever. And my family. I haven't seen some of my family in forever. It's like bumming me out. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. So at some point, I can't even remember what sparked me to do this. I'm like, I'll just draw and share my videos on YouTube. You know, if people want to watch them, cool. If not, at least I'll have this small little catalog of videos online, and it gives me a chance to build up a portfolio again. And it gives me a chance to brush up on my drawing. Okay. I'm pretty stoked on this. I think if I might want to draw another Transformer character in the future. But there's part of me that's thinking, you know, maybe I just got lucky on this one. Which could be the case. I mean, who knows? Maybe the next attempt at drawing a transform, I might totally F it up and it just ends up looking weird. Let's fill this in. I don't like that. It looks weird. It looks like he has this really like he has like this really popping booty right here. It's like a nice shelf. Ooh, you have a nice butt. Am I done? Am I done? That's the question right now. Am I done? Okay, so right now I'm just adding a little bit of highlighting to his fingers, his fingertips. Let's add some segments in his fingers. This would be one way of adding a little bit more detail. Well, if you asked me this morning, hey, do you think you're going to draw a Sharkticon today? I'd be like, no, man. Here we are, drawing a Sharkticon. It's like I said, for my videos, sometimes I'll like go rummaging around through my house and trying to look at interesting toys or action figures and figuring out this might make a good toy to draw, or this would be an interesting subject. And in today's case, you know, this guy was just like staring at me. He's going, draw me, draw me. And who am I to say no? I'm not going to tell this guy no. He looks cool. Okay, let's figure out some details on his tail. Alright, I'm thinking I'm nearing completion, possibly. I'm not sure how much more I could add to this. It seems like I can only take this drawing so far. Maybe let's try blackening his tail a little, right? The mace part. I think it'll bring a little bit more balance to the drawing, just because it's a little bit darker here, and not that I want to balance it all out completely, but I think it wouldn't hurt just to add a little bit more black to the mace. I think I might do a video in the future where I might actually take these black and white pieces and color them on the computer, maybe in Procreate or Photoshop, just to, I mean, for my own sake. I'm kind of curious to see what they look like in color. Like, I'm not a master of coloring on the digitally by any means. Like, my Photoshop, although I've been working in Photoshop forever, my expertise is very limited. I've been working in Photoshop, I think, version 6, which is like over 20 years old for like the longest time, and it's just recently that I moved up to, like, I'm not even on like whatever it is, Creative Suite. I'm just working on like the friggin' like economy Photoshop version you could buy like at Best Buy. What is it, Photoshop Elements or whatever. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap this up soon. I think I'm almost done, so I'm gonna start erasing some of these pencils. Alright, we saw what we did with Spider-Man. I don't want to go aggro and F that up and rip it, so let's go a little bit slower, a little bit more controlled in erasing. Nice, controlled, firm, heavy strokes. Try to erase all in one direction. Okay, I think we are calling it a day on this drawing. As usual, thanks for checking this out. I greatly appreciate it. I'm very glad I got to share this journey with you. It's been forever and a lifetime since I've drawn anything like this. And I was very pleasantly surprised at the results. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but nothing is. But it works for me. So thank you for checking this video out. So let's sum this up again. So this is a Transformer Sharkticon character. He's a baddie. He likes to eat other robots. And the inspiration was this guy, the toy. Roar! Look at that. Oh, he dropped his tail. Alright, I don't know how to put his tail back in. I'll figure that out later. It's really bothering me now. Okay. Alright, so this is my Sharkticon. It is very fun to draw. I highly recommend, if you ever have a chance to draw a Sharkticon, that you draw a Sharkticon for yourself. And as usual, my name is Lou. And it's it's March 9th, 21. Thank you again for hanging out with me as I rambled on for a long time and drew this handsome man. I'll talk to you later. Take care.